The Bad Batch Season 3 Episode 4 is here, and the reunion that we've all been waiting for has left fans in tears. But was this a filler episode? And did you miss any of those very small Easter eggs that were found in this 4th episode? Smash a like on this video and let's break this all down. Episode 4, A Different Approach. This episode opens with Omega and Crosshair traveling through hyperspace, because at the end of episode 3, we see the two of them escape Mount Tantus, where they've been imprisoned for over 140 days. They escaped with the Hound Batcher, which is of course extremely important to this episode specifically, but they narrowly escaped, almost getting shot down before they jumped into hyperspace. And now that has become a problem. This episode opens with them having to jump out of hyperspace and crash land on a planet.
Another happy landing.
And just as their ship is about to lose power, Crosshair notices on the map there is a spaceport nearby. And as soon as they hit the ground, Omega is already talking about going back to Mount Tantus to go save all the clones that are trapped there. And Crosshair's like, well, we gotta save ourselves first. But this is setting up Omega already wanting to go back to rescue all these other clones. We then cut back to Mount Tantus, where Nala Se is being interrogated by Dr. Hemlock. And there's clearly still something going on with Dr. Hemlock's backstory that we don't know about yet. This weird glove on his left hand that he keeps messing with. It's very strange, but he tells Nala Se that he knows that she has been discarding every Omega blood sample this entire time. Nala Se tries to play it off as a false positive, and that happens all the time, supposedly, but Dr. Hemlock is not buying that. Hemlock says that they're going to get Omega back, but Nala Se's future is uncertain. Now, Nala Se is the best cloner in the galaxy. The reason they kept her alive this long is because they needed her. So I wonder if Dr. Hemlock's anger is going to get in the way of a successful Force-sensitive clone. As we know that there's probably not going to be a successful clone on Mount Tantus, as Snoke isn't even created at the time of The Mandalorian. We then cut back to this spaceport called Lao, where Omega and Crosshair need to blend in. They steal some clothes and get a new look, because the Empire has established their presence on this planet. And everything seemingly on this spaceport has to go through the Empire first. So they go to the port to try to leave on a shuttle, but they need chain codes. This is a throwback to the first season when the Empire just took control. This is when the Bad Batch helped Cut and his family escape their planet. They had to get chain codes then too, but they had a friend named Tech who would help do that. Crosshair says that I could take half of these guards out before they even notice. So Omega tries to bribe the person at the desk, and it works. But they're gonna need 30,000 credits to get on board, and they have 0. So Omega has an idea to go to this cantina and win the money in a game of sabacc. Sabacc has been seen all throughout Star Wars in the past. Lando Calrissian and Han Solo are most known for playing it, in an epic game where Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon off of Lando. But Omega finds a Trandoshan in the bar who is playing sabacc and starts to take all of his credits. And just when she's about to have enough, the Empire shows up. This captain looks like Admiral Rampart from Season 2 if he retired and just ate donuts for a few years. But he sits down and tries to best Omega in the game of sabacc. The only problem is he's been the captain of this spaceport for a long time and he doesn't recognize her or Crosshair. Batcher is over his shoulder intimidating him, so he asks if Batcher can leave. Crosshair takes him outside. Omega ends up winning, but little do they know that gambling is illegal in Lao. And the fine is 10,000 credits, but that's okay because they still have 35,000, which is enough to get off the planet. But when they walk outside, Batcher is gone. And the street merchant kid tells them for 5,000 credits that the Empire took Batcher. Honestly, I don't think they needed to pay him to figure that one out. But Omega says we gotta go save him. And Crosshair's like, we gotta save ourselves. Let's get off this planet. Omega goes off to save Batcher, and Crosshair goes to leave. Obviously, that's not the case. He comes back and says, fine, we'll do it your way. We see an animal control area where there's a lot of different animals from all over the galaxy being caged by the Empire. And if you listen real closely, you can actually hear a porg in the background. Shout out to Alex for hearing that one. The porg is obviously the creature that we see on Octu in The Last Jedi. How one of or multiple of them got on this planet, I have no idea. But Crosshair and Omega get caught by the captain, and he says these credits won't do you any good good when Hemlock arrives, meaning he's already contacted Dr. Hemlock and told him that the people he's looking for are right here. Omega says, alright, fine, we'll do it your way, looking back at Crosshair, which means we can blast our way out of here, which is the different approach that the title was talking about. Omega runs over to the control console where she frees all the animals in the control area. A herding stampede of all these animals causes for a distraction for Omega and Crosshair to get on the shuttle and leave. Not without the captain being eaten by a Rathtar first. The Rathtar is most known for being in The Force Awakens when Han Solo and Chewie are transporting them when they come into contact with the Millennium Falcon and Rey and Finn. Who knows, could be the same Rathtar, but I doubt it. Omega and Crosshair escape and jump into hyperspace, and we cut to Dr. Hemlock at the wreckage of the ship that they crashed at the beginning of the episode. Hemlock is told that Crosshair and Omega have escaped using a shuttle, and he says, track that ship and tell all of our operatives. Because the ship is an Imperial shuttle, it's likely that they can track it, but I think the Bad Batch are probably smart enough to leave that ship behind. But Hemlock bringing up his operatives is probably referring to bounty hunters. And we've seen Cad Bane and Fennec Shand before in the Bad Batch in Season 1, but we've also seen them in the trailer for this third season. So it's likely that the two of them could show up in the next episode. But the episode ends with a very emotional reunion of Omega, Hunter, and Wrecker. Hunter saying that they've gone across the galaxy 5 times searching for her, and yet she's the one who found them. But the only way she could do it was with Crosshair's help. And we get yet another reunion of Crosshair and Wrecker and Hunter. And the two of them don't seem too pleased to be seeing their brother Crosshair, but I'm sure that will be ironed out in the next episode. Honestly, a lot of fans will call this episode filler, but that's just ridiculous. This episode was the perfect continuation of what those first 3 episodes were. It sort of ended the first initial arc of this season by getting Crosshair and Omega back to the other Bad Batch members. And it also did a lot of establishing Crosshair and Omega's connection. Very similar to the way that we saw Tech get the same treatment in Season 2 in the earlier episodes, because he dies later on in that second season, very similar to the way that I think Crosshair will also die at the end of this third season. But I give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. I don't think it was nearly as good as episode 3 last week with Palpatine and Mount Tantus, but it definitely was a very important episode in establishing the connection between Omega and Crosshair, and of course giving us the very emotional reunion between Omega, Wrecker, and Hunter. But tell me what you rate this episode in the comment section below, because this third season is just getting started. This is only episode 4, and I'm sure we'll be getting a lot more of Mount Tantus and Project Necromancer later on in this season. And if you want to know what Project Necromancer really is, go check out this video I just did, where I explain all of it.